Hello and a warm welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shoboale. We begin in South Africa, where violence is continuing for another day, bringing the death toll since the unrest started to at least 45. 11 people are said to have been killed in a looting stampede in Meadowlands, Soweto. It follows protests over the jailing of former South African President Jacob Zuma last week. Despite President Cyril Ramaphosa's address on Monday night calling for calm, several townships in Johannesburg are still gripped with the looting and destruction of property. In KwaZulu-Natal, the story is the same, and the police minister, Biki Cele, has confirmed that more than 700 people have been arrested, while the number of related fatalities is rising. Channels Television visited some of the townships today for a look at the current situation.
This is today in Deep Kloof, Soweto, Johannesburg. The mayhem has spread, and a looter stampede in Meadowlands, also in Soweto, has boosted the fatalities by 11 today. 19 of the people who are dead are in Johannesburg, Gauteng. According to the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal, Sihle Zikalala, the number of fatalities recorded in his province stands at 26.
The latest fatalities confirmed by security cluster in KwaZulu-Natal is standing at 26. These were people that were killed during stampede as protesters ran riot.
This is what is left of the Deep Kloof Mall here in Soweto.
The damage that is here is massive. Millions and millions of rents. That it's not going to recover anytime soon. But we'll see as time goes on that how we're going to recover.
They are busy looting. So we don't know what's happening around South Africa. We want our country to cool down so that we come again and enjoy ourselves. Because if things goes like this, we're going to lose everything.
Same story for the Vosloorus Mall. Looting has been going on since yesterday, and this morning it was in full swing with so many people arrested by the police that came on the scene. President Cyril Ramaphosa's passionate plea to the nation on Monday night appeared to have fallen on deaf ears, despite the announcement that soldiers will be deployed to support the police. After the president's speech and after several meetings, assessment meetings, the security cluster ministers addressed the nation.
The current situation on the ground is under strong surveillance, and we will ensure that it does not deteriorate any further. We cannot allow anyone to make a mockery of our democratic state, and we have instructed the law enforcement agencies to double their efforts to stop the violence and to increase deployment on the ground.
While the security cluster was briefing on national TV, nothing much seemed to have changed on the streets. We returned here to the Alexandra Township, where the police has continued in their running battle with the people who have been looting. Behind me you can see the billowing smoke from yet another building that has been set alight by people who have been looting. Formal and informal business groups, as well as the thousands who will join the unemployment market following this, are lamenting. No one knows whether tomorrow will be calmer or not. What's sure is that the road to recovering from this will be a long one. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, as authorities in South Africa race to quell the unrest, another major issue faces the country, the COVID-19 pandemic. Authorities warn that as medics battle the country's worst infection wave yet, the recent unrest could worsen the situation, leading to potential shortage of medicine and food.
An emergency COVID-19 ward run by charity Gift of the Givers In southern Johannesburg, medics wheel patients to their beds, rush from room to room with oxygen cylinders, and pat the back of someone in grip of a coughing fit. The scenes in the converted community hall are a reminder of how badly South Africa has been hit by its third and most debilitating COVID-19 wave yet, as infectious Delta variant surges through a mostly unvaccinated population.
The Delta variant has caused enormous strain on the resources in not only private but also public facilities. So every hospital is getting strained, every healthcare worker is getting strained, and that is why this disaster management facility has to come up, and I hope it comes up in many places.
Fatima Lamba, the doctor in charge of the ward, says the Delta variant has put an enormous strain on all resources, including on healthcare workers. With South Africa recording an average of about 20,000 cases a day, the nursing active cases cumulatively of more than 10 times that, Africa's most economically advanced nation has also been worse hit by the virus with 64,000 deaths. The country's vaccination campaign has been slow, with just 4.2 million doses administered to a population of 60 million. Officials aim to reach a vaccination rate of 300,000 a day by the end of August. Doctors say they have never had to deal with so many COVID-19 infections all at once. Hospitals in the largest city, Johannesburg, where the latest wave started, are full. For 79-year-old Catherine Naido, the most terrifying thing about falling gravely ill was knowing that so many had died.
It was one experience because you don't know what laid ahead. You know, if you look at the news and see how people are going on, you know, passing away and things, it was the most frightening experience.
There are also fears the recent unrest seen in the country over the jailing of the former South African President Jacob Zuma could worsen the COVID-19 situation in the country.
As I said, shops have been looted and infrastructure has been destroyed. This means that our sick cannot get medication from pharmacies. Food does not reach supermarket shelves. And health workers cannot go to work. We will soon be facing a huge risk of food insecurity and medication insecurity in a few weeks. Our vaccination program has been severely disrupted just as it is gaining momentum.
President Cyril Ramaphosa extended COVID-19 restrictions on Sunday, July 11th for another 14 days, including a ban on gatherings, a curfew from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m., and a nationwide ban on the sale of alcohol.
Well, elsewhere in southern Africa, Namibia's health ministry has expressed concern over the number of COVID-19 cases as the number of confirmed deaths rose to 2019. The country also reported 1,284 new cases over the past 24 hours. Health Minister Kalumbi Shangula says the rise of the fatalities past the 2,000 mark is quite concerning. He urges the public to report at the nearest health facility for medical assistance when feeling unwell and encourages all eligible persons to get vaccinated. With a population of just 2.5 million, Namibia has one of the worst death rates on the continent. And here in Nigeria, containing the third wave is a major concern for the Lagos state government. As a result of that, it's educating medical experts on better ways of dealing with a public health crisis, especially the COVID-19 pandemic. The Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, says the medical education training will assist health practitioners on how best to reduce the COVID-19 third wave.
We are at the early stages of a third wave. We don't know the amplitude of the third wave yet. It could be a small wave, it could be an equal to the second wave, it could be a larger wave. We don't know. Time will tell, and we're collecting data on a daily basis. the Lagos State Biobank has picked up mutations that are representative of all variants that are circulating around the world. That is not surprising because Lagos is a cosmopolitan city that receives visitors from all over the world. So we are expecting, and our laboratory evidence suggests, that most variants are circulating in Lagos, and as the numbers start to increase, we will have information that we can give to the public on which variants are predominantly circulating in Lagos State. At the moment, because the numbers are very small in terms of new cases, we are unable to give you very accurate information yet. But as the numbers, if they increase, we hope they won't, but if they increase, we'll be able to give you more robust laboratory data around the types of variants that are circulating in Lagos State.
And over in East Africa, traders in Uganda's capital, Kampala, have been denied access to their businesses as security forces continue to implement tough health measures to curb the spread of the coronavirus. On June the 18th, President Yoweri Museveni ordered a 42-day lockdown that restricted movement and closed businesses. Many people criticized the move, saying that it would deny millions of people their right to earn a living. But President Museveni said imposing tough measures was necessary to deal with a surge of infections sparked by the Delta virus, which has led to an increase in hospitalization and death. Let's shift focus to the Tigray crisis in Ethiopia now. The UN Rights Council has approved a resolution expressing deep concern about abuses in the region and calling for the swift withdrawal of Eritrean troops, which it said were worsening the conflict. Clashes erupted in Tigray 8 months ago between central government forces and the region's ruling party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The conflict has forced nearly 2 million people to flee their homes and driven around 400,000 people into famine. The EU text passed in a vote with 20 countries in favor.
The resolution does not seek to interfere with the joint investigation's work, nor prejudge the outcome of the investigation. The European Union engaged in extensive discussions on this draft, which presents a fair and balanced representation of transparent negotiations. We regret that a number of amendments have been tabled against this draft, which seek to dilute its principal aim. Clearly, we had hoped to adopt the resolution by consensus. Unfortunately, it has not been possible to find common ground with the two countries that play a key role in this conflict.
Special Rapporteur on Eritrea presented to his Council reports on extraterritorial human rights violations by Eritrean soldiers, and Mark Lowcock, head of OCHA, stated in the Security Council that Eritrean soldiers have been using starvation as a weapon of war. These are just a few examples. The presence of Eritrean troops has aggravated the conflict. Their withdrawal is needed.
Well, Ethiopia has been reacting to that UN Rights Council resolution. The Ethiopia's delegate, who is not currently one of the Council's 47 members, said she rejected the resolution.
There must be no questions about Ethiopia's commitment to ensuring responsibility for human rights breached, as it has set up systems to address them. For these systems to be effective, it is critical that the international community awaits the logical conclusions. Regrettably, the resolution before this Council not only undermines all these efforts, but this seems yet another effort to arm twist the outcome, which is completely unacceptable. If the aim is to genuinely enhance Ethiopians' human rights protection, engaging the government is the only way forward. This resolution is a show of disdain for the ongoing joint inquiry with the intent of influencing its conclusion.
It's, however, regrettable that our calls to withdraw the resolution and the amendments we tabled were rejected by the penholder. Madam President, the draft resolution fails to objectively reflect the salient features of the crisis as it undermines the commitment and policy of national institutions which are investigating human rights violations by all players. The unbalanced approach also ignores the facts on the origin of the crisis to make unacceptable assertions and shifts the blame to certain actors, acquitting the main culprit in the equation.
Meanwhile, EU Foreign Policy Chief Joseph Borrell says the EU should be ready to use sanctions on Ethiopia as a way to push for peace and humanitarian access in the northern region of Tigray.
We should be ready to use restrictive measures where we believe they are justified and necessary in advancing these goals. I believe that the situation in Ethiopia would certainly require that we consider the possibility along all options at our disposal. And this option, the option of restrictive measures, to my understanding, must be on the table. We are following closely the situation at the Lithuanian and Belarus border, where reports that the regime is now sending migrants to the Polish border too. We call on Belarusian authorities to stick to their international commitments and obligations. And we took already a number of restrictive measures, and we are ready to consider further to respond to this behavior. To use migrants as a weapon, pushing people against the borders, is unacceptable, and that's what's happening in the Lithuanian and Polish border.
And on the ground in Tigray, a United Nations World Food Programme convoy of 50 trucks has arrived in the Tigrayan capital of Mekelle, carrying 900 metric tons of food and emergency supplies. With over 4 million people in need of immediate assistance, WFP urges the government of Ethiopia to guarantee security for safe passage into the region. The convoy traveled 445 kilometers through numerous checkpoints from Semera to Mekelle via Bala in 4 days. It's the first convoy to reach Tigray since WFP restarted operations on July the 2nd.
The United Nations World Food Programme WFP convoy of 50 trucks arrived in the Tigrayan capital of Mekelle Monday with 900 metric tons of food as well as other emergency supplies. It was the first humanitarian convoy to reach Tigray since WFP restarted operations in the northwest on 2 July following fighting. What is important here is to note that the convoys are going through rigorous checks. It should not be like that. We need to send in convoys every day from now on so that we are able to meet demand. We therefore are appealing for a quicker and smoother passage into the region as soon as possible.
Well, away from the Tigray crisis, the European Union has approved a military training mission in Mozambique to support armed forces there to protect the civilian population. It aims to train and support the military in restoring security to northern Cabo Delgado, which has been plagued by extreme violence amid jihadist attacks since 2017. The mission will involve military training, including operational preparation, specialized training in counterterrorism, and training and education in the protection of civilians. Its mandate will initially last for 2 years. Over the last 3 years, more than 2,800 people have died in the violence, which has forced about 900,000 others from their homes. And in West Africa, Ghana's First Lady has offered to refund all the allowances she has received since the president assumed office in 2017, following a public outcry over salaries. Rebecca Akufo-Addo also says she would not accept salary that was recently approved by the country's parliament. She reveals in a statement that she had decided to refund all monies paid to her as allowances, amounting to $151,618 US. That's about 62 million naira. She says she did not request to be paid and had only received that which existed and attached to her status. The First Lady and Second Lady have always been given allowances over the years as part of executive privileges. And finally, on the program, refugee athletes are going all out on the home stretch of their preparations for the delayed Tokyo Olympics, which will take place from July the 23rd to August the 8th, 2021. The Tokyo 2020 Games will mark the second Summer Olympics that features a team of refugee athletes competing under the Refugee Olympic Team EOR banner.
In June this year, Thomas Bach, president of International Olympic Committee, announced a team of 29 athletes across 12 sports that would travel to Tokyo from around the world, upping the number from 10 that took part in Rio 2016. This year, chef de mission of the Refugee Olympic Team, Tegla Lurub, the former Kenyan marathon world record holder, has been training for South Sudanese refugee athletes in Ngong Hills, located in southwest of the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, as they prepare to return to the world stage. Rose Lekoyan had the honor of being selected as the official flag bearer of the team in 2016. She is keen on improving on her 2 minutes and 16.64 seconds performance in the women's 800 meters that saw her finish 7th in her heat and failed to progress to the semi-finals.
I'm hoping to improve on my time and also to wish all the best to my colleagues. At least we can do something at Tokyo 2020.
Like all other athletes around the world, the EOR members suffered a major setback when lockdown measures were implemented in Kenya in March last year. But unlike their counterparts who compete under the national flags, Lekoyan and her peers were forced to relocate from the Ngong camp to the sprawling Kakuma refugee camp in northern Kenya, the largest settlement for displaced persons in sub-Saharan Africa. This saw the group completely cut off from the coaches and training regimen in what was a big blow to their ambitions and fitness.
We have been getting the program through the group, so we have been trying to follow, and then we send back the result to the coaches and they review and see if we have done in the right way. So it was not that easy, but we thank God that we come up to this far, and we continue to move on.
Now they're back and looking forward to joining the rest of their team members from around the world. Laura Okwe maintains expanding the team from 10 to 29 has increased their chances of winning a historic first medal.
For the 29 athletes that I'm going to lead, I think we will not miss a medal. We have also Popole for the judo from Brazil. We have this lady from Iran who's already have a medal in taekwondo. So I think there are possibilities. People can reach even final or quarterfinal.
The 4 members in Kenya will travel to Dubai to join the rest of the squad before making the journey to Japan to pursue history at the Games. The refugee team will be represented across athletics, badminton, boxing, canoeing, cycling, judo, karate, taekwondo, shooting, swimming, weightlifting and wrestling in Tokyo.
Well, good luck to them. We're definitely rooting for them. And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shuboale. Bye for now.